Right, good morning everyone. I hope you're all well and you're getting out and enjoying some of this sunshine. It's important with regards to the work that we're doing on coastal defences that you do get a flavour for the range of engineering options that are available at the coast, but also an idea of their failings. So that I gave you a starter of the Hornsey defences, which work in combination. Very often you don't just have one defence, you'll have a number. And at Hornsey they have a wide beach which is maintained by a series of quite long groins. And of course the best defence you can have is a wide shallow beach, because what happens when the waves come in, of course, they break and they expend their energy literally just shuffling beach sediment up and down the beach. But you'll see at the back of the beach there's a seawall, and behind that there's a bank protecting, I think it's the caravan park. Further down the coast you can see that there's rock armour, and why it's not a seawall, you seem to think, well, there's the holiday caravan park that's there is obviously of a higher value than perhaps the small number of buildings that the rock armour defends. Question 2 we've had a look at. The slide 3 shows the interference with longshore drift that happens with a groin. And you can see there, and you can picture there which way the longshore drift is moving, i.e. from the left of the photograph to the right, because the beach on one side of that rock groin is wider than another. And that leads on to the problems that having a groin field can have in interfering with longshore drift. Now, a groin field is simply just when you have a number of groins down a beach. This is illustrated, I think we touched upon this before, at West Bay, where they built a Victorian breakwater, and as soon as that was in place, of course, it robbed the beach down drift, which is the far side of the breakwater, of its supply of sediment, and consequently the beach shrunk, and the cliffs which lay behind were then subject to erosion. And that now in recent years has had to be remedied, and you can see there they've had to put in rock groins and rock armour. Doesn't really help the look of a place. It's quite intrusive, but quite necessary. The one thing you'll go on to is terminal groin syndrome, and this really just follows on that where the last groin is in the groin field, you will have a problem, because on one side of the groin, the beach sediment is retained as a beach and therefore defends the cliff. But the other side of the groin, with no further groins, erosion will move the sediment along and you'll have increased rates of erosion. And that's called terminal groin syndrome, which is illustrated in the picture. Question number 9, the rock armour actually defends a seawall. These seawalls are incredibly expensive, and you have to defend the seawall itself. So rock armour in some cases is put in front of a seawall, and this actually protects it, not so much the sheer bulk of the boulder that lies there, but the fact that when the wave breaks on the rock armour, of course, it's cushioned by the air spaces in between the rock armour. And that leads on to the next question, which is, well, what is the weakest point of a seawall, a revetment? It's the toe. It's at the front of the structure, or in the seawall's case, the toe is underneath. And this is undermined by the action of waves. And what happens is a wave breaks, it pulls sediment away from the seawall back down the beach, and that's called scour. So that's where it gets underneath the structure. And of course, the moment that a seawall begins to be undermined, it's compromised. It's no longer as effective, and remedial action will have to be undertaken. I did ask a question about why you see rock armour, which appears very haphazard. It's not very landscaped, if you like. It just seems to be dropped there. And that's because it's not defending anything of aesthetic or touristic value. It's literally just defending a railway line. You don't need it to look pretty. It just needs to do a job. So that's a bit of a talk through about the worksheet. A couple of other things. The berm is the feature you can see in the very first slide. It says, what feature can you see on the beach? It's a berm. It's like a small ridge. And that was the last sort of high tide where the waves sort of piled up into a small ridge along the beach. And berms are very temporary, if you like, ephemeral features, because if there's a high tide higher than that one, then it will rub that one out and create a little new one. One thing I'd like you may come across is rainbowing. And that is simply where beach sediment is pumped onto a beach. And what you have like a barge with like a huge vacuum cleaner on it, or it's actually got a big hold full of sand. And what they do is they shoot the sand up out of like a hose and onto the beach, and it's in an arc, hence rainbowing. So that's just something to know there. Well, that's about enough for me. I hope you're all well. You take care of yourselves and do keep up to date.